Today's topic is how to how can farmers take the risks which will eventually lead to profits but not bankrupt them. I am doing this series for VegaMX, which is a for-profit company in New York. Hello, everyone. Good to be with you again. Today, we are very lucky to have with us Darren Hughes, who runs a farm in Australia and knows quite a bit about taking risks and making profits. Over to you, Darren.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and appreciate everyone joining us today. My family are a farming background. Four generations we have on the farm. We are wheat and sheep farmers here in Western Australia, in Australia. The topic I want to talk about today is the adoption of innovation on farm. Adoption of innovation is going to drive productivity growth on farm. Productivity growth is ultimately going to drive profitability. Little bit about my background is that I have a PhD in wheat, and research management is all I've ever done, and working heavily with direct to growers. And over that time, what I've found is that growers are really good at adopting new technology. Once it's proven, they have the confidence and they've de-risked that decision. But there's a lot of great innovation that doesn't get adopted in agriculture because growers don't have the capability to adopt, or they don't have the confidence to adopt the new technology. So a little bit of background in that. Laconik is a startup that I founded. We enable on-farm trials to be conducted. Okay. So we enable farmers using the hardware and software that comes standard in every modern farm to be able to put trials in paddocks. Okay. And what we're finding is that these trials give the grower the confidence to go and adopt new technologies. So, for example, I met with some farmers last year. We did a range of trials on their farm. We saved them $150,000 Australian in being able to make a better fertilizer decision. This particular grower put trials across his paddocks last year looking at what the impact of no fertilizer and a really high rate of fertilizer. He gave me a call at harvest last year when he was driving the combine through the paddocks and could see no difference between putting no fertilizer on and a really high rate. As a direct result of that, the grower made the decision just to put 25 kilos per hectare of fertilizer over his whole program, which was $150,000 saving straight up. Okay. So what we've been able to gain is a really good understanding that we can put a trial in the paddock and we've got a clear value proposition for what we're able to deliver.
And what happens if the trial fails?
There is just as much learning in a failed trial as there is in a positive trial. So because we're on the boundary of adopting innovation, not every innovation is actually going to work. So we're finding growers are getting a lot of confidence using our technology on farm, because if it fails, that's a good thing, right? They won't adopt that because it didn't work under their farming situation.
Okay, so failure is not real failure.
Failure is not real failure.
It gives you the knowledge of what doesn't work and leaves you with that. So that additional knowledge is worth the trial.
Correct. Right. In science, we have a non-significant result. In business, you would call that a failure, right? Yeah. In science, we actually want to find the non-significant results because all we've done has proved what hasn't worked, which means that we're one step closer to finding out what will work.
Yeah, I understand. I understand your point that, if you take no risk, you always have failure, right?
Correct. And you're not doing R&D if you're not taking risk and not failing.
Right. So, okay. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but please go ahead.
No. We're at a stage now that we've developed the software. We've got a really good path to market in our direct to growers, and we're slowly looking to expand the business. The other part of our business is we're working a lot with what we call the crop science companies. So these are the Bayers, the Syngentas, the Adamas, the BASS of the world, who are bringing new products to market. And there's two reasons that those sort of companies are working with us, right? We really work in the market development space. So products that are 2 to 3 years out from commercial release, we allow those companies to trial their products under real world farmer conditions at the whole of paddock scale, which is not simple and easy to do under the current testing regime. When the crop science companies are developing their new products to bring to market, they'll generally use what we call small plot trials. So they'll test their product on an area of land approximately 6 feet wide and 60 feet long. And you need to do that in the early stages of product development because you need to remove all the variables around the treatment, and you need to know whether the product works, and you need to generate the data to get the product registered by the regulator. Each country has their own set of rules that chemicals need to be regulated by before they're released.
Okay.
Once these,
Can I just interrupt you? What do you mean by products? Can you give an example?
so we're talking about herbicides, fungicides, pesticides, anything that's used to kill a weed or a disease in a crop. Some of the GM regulated technologies, right? They have to have them registered.
Yeah.
And we're seeing more and more in the biological. So agriculture is going through a real change through sort of sustainability in regen ag at the moment. And there is a plethora of biological products to hit the market. I have no doubt that those biological products are going to work, but they need to be tested under real scientific conditions and evidence gained to prove that it works before the grower's going to adopt.
Okay, so this is just part of the meeting the, you could call it regulatory approval, or you could just call it common sense that you better test it. Better test
in Australia, we call it the pub test, right? So can you go down the pub and will people believe you?
Right.
When you start selling their product, right?
Right.
It's a very simple kind of concept.
That's why I said it's common sense. Look,
it's common sense.
Right.
Yes.
Did you even test it before you're selling it to me? So yeah.
It is very scary.
Has anybody looked at your test, or you just did it in your backyard? Exactly. So,
and that's where I get, there's a lot of biological products that are happening, and I'm sure that they're working really good in the labs. I'm sure that they're working really good in the small plot scales, right?
Yeah.
I want to see data at the whole of paddock scale, right? And farmers themselves and agronomists want to see data at the whole of paddock scale before they start adopting these newer products that are coming to market.
Yeah, I mean, 6 feet by 60 feet can satisfy a scientist, but not a farmer. No,
that's exactly right.
Right.
No.
So yeah, because you have controlled too much, and the farmer cannot control that much. Yeah, you control it so that you can get a clear scientific result, but no one can control the farm to that degree. The variables will be there. So what happens?
Correct.
You got rid of the variables, but what happens if the variables are there, right?
You've got it, right? That's essentially what we're doing. So let's remove all the variables in the early stage of product testing. Essential, right? Absolutely essential.
Right.
But when that product comes 2 years out from commercial release, it needs to be tested in the real world against all the variables, right? So does it work on all the different soil types? What happens to that product when you put it in the farm hands of the farmer? Because the way they mix the product up, I can guarantee is going to be very different to the way the scientists mixed the product up when they were testing in the small lab stage.
Yeah.
So Laconik is working with these crop science companies and allowing them to test these new products a year or two out, and get that sort of data, and prove that it works at the whole paddock scale. On from that, Laconik is also helping companies in those 1 to 2 years prior commercial release with the marketing and promotions of their product.
Okay.
We've got the data from whole paddock scale trials. Laconik has established what we call an atomic network of growers. So we're working with the best of the best growers around Australia, and we can we can provide those growers through a newsletter and face-to-face presentations, the trial results of the crop science companies that we're working for. So we can help facilitate the sale of these new products by putting it in the, I guess, the hands of the customer, the grower.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so you're really the hands-on, the last mile for the product. Okay,
that's the best way to think about it. We are the last mile in the innovation framework to get growers to adopt.
Yeah, the last mile. Okay, understood. Okay, so that's really a very key role, because the last mile problem is well known. It runs in many different places. You can get close, but it's not there, right? So that's very good.
And that's what we're doing.
Okay. Anything else do you want to tell us?
Some
stories, some examples, maybe something that makes it concrete. The theory is clear, but I just like to have examples. So you have some examples?
We actually had a really good example there earlier on this year. So we had been working with one of the crop science companies here in Australia. We did a lot of work for them last year. I reached out to one of our key growers that we've done a lot of work with and asked them if they would be interested in seeing the results of the crop science company's work. They said yes. So Laconik and the crop science representative got on a call one night, and we went through the trial results that we delivered last year. Long and short of it, that particular grower went out and bought 1,000 litres of the new fungicide as a direct result of seeing those trial results that we'd presented him.
Mm-hmm.
That grower previously had not applied fungicide to their crops. Right? They didn't have the confidence in the small plot trials. They thought it was too risky, that it wasn't going to deliver them a return. By being able to show the trial results from independently conducted research in partnership with the key crop science companies, gave that grower the confidence to go and buy 1,000 litres of this new chemical, which is worth a significant amount of dollars.
Okay. I mean, for me, I don't know what 1,000 litres of a fungicide mean. How big a farm would be that uses this? Any sense?
So that particular farm, they are farming somewhere around the order of 40,000 acres of crop.
Okay, so it's a huge farm. 1,000 litres. It's not such a big amount. And if that 1,000 litres can do the trick, then that's quite a job done there, I think.
Yeah, we should be able to deliver, a very big, significant financial return to the grower as a direct result of that purchase. And
also to you and the crop science company.
Yeah, because Laconik's captured and created value.
Yes.
The crop science company has used a new technology and captured value.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately delivered in a product sale. Right?
Okay,
and in order to make the pie bigger,
right,
which everyone is after,
yeah,
everyone in the supply chain has to grab value.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we just cut a pie smaller and smaller, and it becomes a race to the bottom. And that's not innovation adoption.
No, I understand that, the surplus that's created is distributed along the chain. Right?
Correct.
It has to be distributed.
Which is economics.
That's economics. If you create the surplus at the end, then it is distributed back up the supply chain in whatever shape or form. That is a separate question, but it has to be distributed. The shares, that is a different matter, but everybody has to have the due share. Whatever they find is the due share. So it's good.
Correct.
Okay, this is a really good example to illustrate what it is that you are doing. Now, in terms of these new products, what is the scientific community's view on any potential environmental impact? Do you know that, or is it beyond this domain of this talk?
I think it's beyond the domain of this kind of talk. There's no doubt our key crop science company customers are under environmental pressure, and they know that they have to start reducing the impact of chemicals in the environment.
Yeah.
And they are looking to come up with recommendation ways to reduce the amount of chemical being applied or new technology. There's some fantastic technology coming through on the application, what we call green on green, spraying green crops in green weeds in green crops that will reduce chemical application. So it's coming through. We're certainly aware of what needs to happen.
Okay, all right. And you mentioned a term I'm not familiar with, biological something. You said these are biological chemicals. I mean, could you? They are organic as opposed to what? I mean, so just for me, you know.
If you could imagine, I guess this in a very, very simple terms, traditionally our chemicals in agriculture have been inorganic.
Yes.
Right, so they've been chemical compounds.
Yeah.
There's a lot of biological products which are organic type products which are starting to be released. So, so they're enzymes, they're bacteria, they're all sorts of biological type of products which have been discovered. They tend to be living type organisms that you apply to the crop, or you spray on the seed, and it will fix nitrogen from the air, or it will fix carbon into the soil. There's a lot of investment going into that area in both the crop science companies and in the venture capital world of ag tech at the moment.
Yeah, I was aware of biological fertilizers, or what they simply say is biofertilizer. I did not know that it expands to sprays also. You know, what you are mentioning is sprays. I was aware that a lot of people are using biofertilizer, which is very different, and you know, it's alive and all that. And I understand that, and I'm aware of it. But this is the first time I've heard that, you know, the insecticides and fungicide, they're also coming up with biological. So they are not organic. I mean, they're not inorganic. They're not derived from feedstock. They are derived.
Yeah, it's not synthetic chemistry. It's organic chemistry starting to come through.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Okay. Thank you very much. It's very clear what you do and what your role is, and I guess it's up to Vega to see how they can take your ideas and apply them across the world. I mean, they are, broadly speaking, theoretically sound and practically working in Australia. So now the thing is, where else can this be taken, and where else can your business grow?
To grow out to, and I'm looking forward to that. We'll have our first trials out through Canada this year. You know, we're partnering with one of the small agricultural firms up around Toronto to get some proof of concept trials in the paddock this year. And I look forward to trying to expand it over coming years. By
the way, I went to Toronto and I was told never say Toronto. You have to say Toronto.
Ah, okay.
So since
I'm going to put the Aussie slang on it.
Since you're working with them, you must learn to say Toronto. Okay. They say, what the heck? You are saying Toronto. What are you, some outsider? Here we say Toronto. Okay. Fine.
Okay.
I was just giving you this heads up, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own way of pronouncing things, and we need to be clear on that. All right. Anything else you want to add at this point?
No, I just really appreciated the opportunity to touch base. And if anyone's ever got any questions, let me know. I'm always happy to jump on a call on.
Okay, fine. Let's say bye to the viewers and we'll talk a few minutes after that. All right. So we stop the recording here. Bye, everybody. I'll be back with another expert or a young person next time. Till then, bye.